Too.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Modern Nurse Podcast. My name is Emily Knife, and I am your host today. We have somebody very special with us today, Abigail Stanley. Welcome, Abigail. Thank you for joining
Thanks
us.
for having me.
Of course, Abigail is a nurse, of course. That's who we have on our show. But she is also a person that has been tremendously making waves in the legal nursing community. Not only does she have a course that teaches legal nursing that we'll talk more about, but she also owns her own consulting business as well. So, welcome to the show, Abigail. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Course, of course. All right. So let's get into the nitty gritty. So, how did you even become a legal nurse? Because it's not even a thing I knew about in nursing school. So, tell us more about that.
Oh, for sure. Like nursing school, I feel like nursing school does not really set you up for like all the options in nursing. It's just like bedside nursing and that's it. So I was an operating room nurse, like straight out of the gate from nursing school. I went straight into the OR, and that's all my experience was 7 years in the OR. And I was actually on one of my nursing shifts. I was in the break room, and one of the nurses it was her last day, like an older veteran nurse, and she was moving to Tennessee. And just in passing in the break room, she goes, "You don't have kids yet. Like, you should get into legal nursing." And I thought, what in the world? Like, I literally thought it was made up when I first heard it. I was like, I've never heard of this. So after my shift, I remember going home and doing what everybody does when they don't know. And I just started researching online. I just started Googling, like, oh my word, this is a real thing. And like what I realized was so astonishing to me was how differently nurses are valued outside of the clinical setting. Like I was making, this was, back in, I started into nursing in 2008. So this was a while ago, but I was making like, $31 an hour, $32 an hour. And I was working nights and weekends. I mean, this wasn't even like these were off shifts. I think I topped out at 34. And it's like to find out that attorneys would pay nurses with the same exact credential, $150 an hour was like, wait, what? And I could work from home and I get like, it was like, how is this possible that the same degree, the same license could be valued so differently? So yeah, so I was literally on a shift in the break room when it first came across. I certainly didn't hear about it in nursing school. I don't think they want you to know about it in nursing school, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that's how it kind of fell into my lap. And immediately I just kind of went all in. I just started researching. There really wasn't a lot out there about it at the time. Now I feel like it's the opposite. It's like you're bombarded with information to the point where it's overwhelming. Like I feel like nurses looking into legal nursing now are like, there's so many options to try to figure it out. And then you hear
Right.
really bad, things about different programs and it's really overwhelming. Well, back then to me, I didn't feel like I had much of any answers. No matter what I researched, I knew I wanted to do it,
Yeah.
but I didn't feel like it was like, there was absolutely no, like, this is the roadmap to do it.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of through trial and error, I literally started, I got business cards printed. I created an LLC. I got business cards printed, and I'm here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I started going door to door with a little baggie of chocolates with my business card attached,
Wow.
just to law firms.
Wow.
And that's how I started. Like, I didn't make much headway with that, but I did meet an attorney then dropping off the chocolates. And he said to me, he was like, okay, you got to get on LinkedIn and you got to go to the trial lawyer conference here in Indiana. And so I signed up for the conference, and that's when I started getting cases. It's like once you actually like got in front of them, and actually it's just a relationships business. So it's just networking,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's my beginning story of legal nursing.
Wow. Yeah, that's so cool. And you're so right about the information, the bombardment of information these days. It's like where as a nurse, like where can I go? You have all these options, but then it gets to be so overwhelming. So that being said, so with that overwhelmingness, what is something that a nurse can do if they're really interested in learning about legal nursing? I know you have a course. Maybe that could be an option for them.
Yes, of course, I'm definitely going to say, in my opinion, and whether it's with my program, so my program's Legal Nurse Secrets. I just started it this year. I've been a legal nurse for 13 years. I've worked on I can't believe the number now, but 25,000 cases for attorneys since 2011.
Wow.
And I co-founded Legal Nurse Secrets with Catherine Spears, who is just a legal nurse legend in the industry. She had her own extremely successful legal nurse consulting business. But then a few years back, when her and I met back in 2017, she kind of retired from legal consulting company and she came on board with my legal nurse consulting company as my educator. And she would
Wow.
help me research the lawsuits because the type of lawsuits, so my company is Nurses Still Care. That's my legal nurse consulting company.
Okay.
And the type of lawsuits that I specialize in are mass tort lawsuits. And what that means is like the commercials that you see, like Roundup, hernia mesh, Johnson and Johnson baby powder, like the ones that impact like a product or a device or a drug that impacts thousands of people across our country.
Mm,
That's the type of lawsuits that my company specialized in. So
okay.
Catherine came on board and she was the educator of my company and she would help research the lawsuits. We make, custom report templates for these specific lawsuits. So anyway, so she was the educator and she also helped train the nurses with me. So she just has an educator's heart. And like I said, she also had her own extremely successful legal nurse consulting business.
Oh,
So her and I decided a few years back that, okay, what if we created a training program for nurses that are interested in legal nursing? Because it's like, again, even way back when I was like, but okay, this exists. I know that this exists and I know nurses are doing this, but how do you do it?
yeah.
And so we literally took what we did individually in our journeys and we broke it down step by step into processes of how you build the business foundation, exactly step by step, like knowing what we know now, having gone through what we've gone through, the exact order of operations and how to do it, the business foundation, branding. We even have like an hour and a half video of an exact step by step walkthrough of building out your website, like in
Oh my
Wix. Like we have
gosh.
how to build your logo, how to work within Canva, how to make social media posts, and then so we have business foundation, we have branding, we have Catherine's report writing, and she's like the master. She's been a mentor to legal nurses for like well over a decade anyway. So she's
Wow.
teaching all about report writing. And then my favorite is marketing because in all honesty, any nurse can do legal nursing, like absolutely
Mhm.
any registered nurse. And I know LPNs that actually do it too, but like any nurse can do this. The
Yeah.
report writing is not what trips people up because like we've been working in medical records our entire careers, right? Like
Right.
it's
Right.
no big deal.
Yeah.
What trips them up is getting the work.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We are not marketers. We are not,
Mhm.
like, I never had to take a marketing class to pass nursing school.
Right.
And so, in my opinion, that if you look into legal nursing at all, most people they'll say, oh, it's an oversaturated market. Absolutely not true. There's over 1 million attorneys. And if
Mm,
they stop getting cases, they're out of business.
yeah.
Or people will say, yeah, it's oversaturated or it's too hard to find work. And like none of it's true. It's
Mm,
just you have to know how to do it,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like it's a totally different mindset. Most nurses, you can get hired in a clinical setting pretty much showing up in pajamas to an interview. I
Mhm.
mean, like they do
Yeah.
need nurses. And so it's like, you don't have to sell yourself. They know what a nurse is. If you
Yeah.
have the credentials, boom, you got the job, right?
Right. Right.
With attorneys, it's not like that. You have to actually prove your value and it's not difficult, but it's not something nurses are used to doing.
Mhm.
They're not
Yeah.
used to putting themselves out there. And
Absolutely.
so the course goes through just absolutely everything that Catherine worked on 10,000 cases herself. I worked on 25,000. So 35,000
Um,
cases between the two of us, 28 years of experience between the two of us, step by step, what to do in order to do it.
yeah.
And then we have a monthly Q&A as well, where because here's the thing, we can tell you everything that's in our minds, but stuff's going to pop up and you're
Right.
going to go, okay, an attorney said this to me. What do I do?
Mhm.
Or how it goes. It's just in
Yeah.
business, you're going to have questions. And so we have a monthly Q&A where they can write in as many questions as they want. We answer them and give them a recording of we're here for you. You're not alone because I'm sure you can like attest to this, I had no one on my journey to ask
Yeah.
anything to.
Mhm.
And it is like business ownership can be so lonely. It can be so like, and so we don't want nurses feeling like they don't know their next step or they don't know who, they need a resource to ask when stuff does come up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that course sounds phenomenal. And I love how you include the business aspect in that as well as the marketing. Like if we look at our nursing certifications like ICU nurse, med surg, labor and delivery, like none of that has any business or marketing whatsoever. It's just theology, didactics, and a lot of knowledge, right? And then you take a test because you memorized all that stuff. It's like the NCLEX all over again. So I think,
Right.
you know, as nurses, we create this alphabet soup, right, after our name because we're always reaching and searching. And I think the missing pieces, and you hit it right on the head, is marketing and business. Like
Yeah.
those two things. Like, how do
Yeah.
you, and it should be included in nurse. It really, like, I'm so wanting it to be included in nursing school to even have an
It should
entrepreneur
be.
course, right? Like,
100%, just to
yeah,
even let them know, because not everybody has an entrepreneur's heart. Like, I know that.
absolutely.
But for those of us that do, and in all honesty, I didn't know I had an entrepreneur's heart until I knew I had one. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not like you're just, when people think, because I've had nurses write to me and say, I'm not a business owner, I'm a nurse. And I'm like, well, no one's a business owner until they're a business owner. And
right.
also, I just feel like people make far too much of it. But if nursing, even just in nursing school, they just like allowed you to understand the options, because I cannot think of any other field out there that has more options than nursing. There's just
Absolutely.
not. And
Yeah.
it's like, so with this knowledge base that we all have in our heads is like a nurse equals I'm bedside nursing. I mean, I was an operating room nurse. Even one of my nursing school instructors, when I landed, I'm an old enough nurse that I landed my nursing school job before. Like I know now you can't do that. You have to pass the boards first, but
Right.
you were able to set it up before in 2008. And I remember so excited landing the OR job and coming to my nursing school instructor the next day. And the nursing school instructor said, OR nursing isn't real nursing. And
Oh
you're
my
like,
gosh.
what? Like, that's the level of closed minded. So I can't
Yeah.
even imagine what she thinks about what I do now. Right. Like, not that I care, but
Right.
it's like they just, yeah, absolutely. Nursing school should have an entrepreneurship class, because they should at least, because the amount, if you get on TikTok and Instagram, and of course, like with your conference, School of Modern Nursing, like the
Mhm.
amount of options
Yeah.
out there, like how people don't have a clue. Nurses literally don't even know what they don't know about
Right.
the options they have as a nurse.
Yeah.
And it
Absolutely.
needs like we have to start getting like the information out there, which I'm so appreciative that you're doing this, that you're getting nurses to understand how valuable they are and how many things that they can do, because nursing is not for the faint of heart, and there's so many that are so mentally and physically and emotionally burnt out. And if they only knew, like, and you don't have to leave bedside,
Right.
like, you know what I mean? I transitioned out. That's a good thing to go over. I did
Yeah.
not just go, I'm a legal nurse today and I'm done with the OR.
Yeah.
I transitioned. I worked extremely part time on the legal nursing business, extremely part time. I mean, like a handful of hours a week. And even within a year of just like mailing my information to attorneys, showing up to that one conference, and just doing, messaging them on LinkedIn or emailing them just a little bit a week, and I was able to get it that like it made no sense for me to work 312s anymore.
Right.
Year I dropped one of my 12-hour shifts. And then
Wow.
with another year, I duplicated my full-time nursing salary, but it wasn't like I just go, oh, I'm all in. You know what I mean? You
Right.
can
Right.
transition, or
Yeah.
depending on their goals with like entrepreneurship and nursing, you can just have money on the side, because like immediately I started paying off all my student loans. I paid off my car. Like, even if it's just a goal of like, I want to take the family to Disney, whatever.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it
Right.
doesn't have to be like, now I'm a business owner, but like, and now I'm just like, this is all I do now. You don't have to leave bedside, but I do want nurses to understand they can start making really good money and have a better work-life balance, because if you can earn more working less, you'll have a better work-life balance, because I just feel like
Absolutely.
nurses, just don't have that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
didn't you feel like nursing, like bedside nursing was like the anti-family job? I mean, I
Oh yeah.
remember one
Yeah.
year, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so depressing. Like I remember one
Yes.
year because I was working weekend option at this time. And I worked Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day because all four fell on my holidays. And I'm like, I just 1 year out of my life where it's just like none of that. And you're like, who wants to live like that? And I know
Mhm.
there's nurses out there that I'm like, they're missing Christmas with their families. They're missing, it's
Right.
just, and you can go part-time.
Yeah. 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 I think you make such a really great point is that you can do it a little bit at a time. Like it doesn't have to be like this jump ship where you're like, peace out, I see you. I'm going to be an
Yeah,
entrepreneur. And then you're like, wait, I have no money. Like,
right.
right. So it's like,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
that's the hardest thing to learn is, use that nursing job that you currently have to fund your business, right? Take a little bit out of
Yeah.
your paycheck and fund your business with that or get a small business loan. There's so many different options.
Yeah.
In that space. And so, yeah, like I didn't just one day, it was like, peace out. I'm going to start the school of nursing. I was working,
Right.
I was working at Emory University for a while, teaching mental health, nursing. So yeah, it's really interesting that, nurses just, yeah, they just don't know what they don't know. And, they don't know that there's over 400 jobs in the hospital, out of the hospital, in nature, in places
Right.
that have no water or running electricity. I mean, there's like jobs for every nurse. And it
Yes.
saddens me when I get a nurse that's like, I can't find a job. Nobody wants to hire me. And I'm just like, okay, well, let's look at this a little differently. What if we start saying, like, everybody wants to hire me? I am valuable. I am so worthy. My nursing license is the ticket to freedom, and start looking at things a little bit differently. So, in regards to mindset, how has your mindset changed from bedside nursing to now a legal nurse? How has your mindset changed, speaking of business and even personal?
Yeah. That's such a great point. And honestly, that's what I did not mention when I talked about the program. The most important aspect is mindset. And I have a mindset lessons throughout every single course because you've got nothing if you don't have a mindset. Like seriously, that's everything. So yes, it's exactly what you're saying. It's like shifting your perspective of I have to do this, I get to do this.
Mhm. Yeah.
Not, I can't find an attorney to work for me. It's like shifting, going, wait a second, let's even just logically think about this. There's 1.3 million attorneys. Like, you know what I
That's
mean? I'm like, it's
crazy.
just like switch your mindset to going, like, I am valuable. Okay. Most attorneys have never worked in the medical field ever. So yeah, they might be the smartest person in the room and they certainly think they're the smartest person in the room, but do they have your knowledge base? Absolutely not. Are
Right.
they going to mispronounce medical terminology? Yes. Do they know what they're
Mhm.
talking about with medical? No, they don't. And so
Yeah.
it's like you just kind of have to shift your mindset of going, like, I am when in this regard, I am the most knowledgeable,
Mhm.
right? And I do have something of value that they don't have, that they need on their cases that can help them win. And like I tell them, like, I think a big problem, especially with like legal nursing, not necessarily for other like nurse entrepreneurship ventures, but for legal nursing, attorneys are like doctors, very
Mhm.
similar personality, which is like when nurses get scared of attorneys, I'm like, you're used to doctors. Like, come
Right.
on. They're the same personality of like, it's their world. We just live in it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, you have to take them off the pedestal and put yourself
Mhm.
there
Yeah.
because they cannot impact you. If they say no and they don't see your value, oh well, next, like
Yeah.
next, because
Yeah.
there's a million of you and there's only one of me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You have to get in this like find your personal power because even if they don't understand your value, you have to understand your
Mm.
value,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
take them off the pedestal. Take anybody off the pedestal that you have over you. And they cannot impact you if you don't have them. The only way they can is if you have them in your mind higher than you. And they're not higher
Mm.
than you. They
Yeah.
just have a different skill set, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Take them off the pedestal, put yourself on the pedestal because you are an expert in whatever you are an expert in as a nurse. And to start seeing yourself that way. And I think that was one of the biggest kind of fallbacks that I had was I knew I was an expert in somatics and I knew all this neuroscience stuff, but I still
Right.
like all these other nurses are saying like it's too saturated. I felt that way in that somatic space and like the holistic
Yeah.
space. It's like everybody's starting to use these buzzwords and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to get any clients. Like, I went down this dark, deep rabbit hole of the never ending self loathing of doubt and fear of starting something new. And so I don't even like to use the word imposter syndrome because when you're starting something new, of course you're going to fail and fumble and make mistakes and learn as you go, right? It's just like
Right.
nursing school.
Right.
Like nobody just walked out of their mom's womb and starts an IV on a patient. Like you have to learn how to fly in like an airplane and go into the tube. Like it's a
Yes.
skill set. You're going to have to fail and make mistakes. And that's what's so great about life is that we
Yeah.
get to do that. Like, I love making mistakes. Like, I used to hate it,
Yes.
but now I'm like, okay, this happened. How can I move from here now that I made this mistake? How can I make it better? Right. So,
Exactly. It's
um,
just a learning moment.
yeah, yeah. So I love how you sprinkle the mindset into your course and into your teaching because that is so important. That's something else that's not taught in nursing school, right? And as
It's not.
we,
So,
yeah,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. You're
Oh, I
fine.
was going to say another really important one, and I know you're going to feel this one.
Yeah.
You have to, because it's so easy to look like right now on LinkedIn. And I was very lucky. I'll say this. When I got on LinkedIn in 2011, it wasn't LinkedIn of 2024.
Hmm.
LinkedIn of 2024, and it's not my favorite platform, I'll say that right away, but it's it's difficult. If I was a brand new legal nurse and I saw all these legal nurses out there, I would feel very inferior,
Yeah.
I think. And they're very it's a wonderful community. They cheer each other on, which is great. But I was someone that would have struggled seeing like, well, how come they're figuring it out and I'm not? And you just get into this. You're like you said, I don't like imposter syndrome either, but like certainly I've certainly experienced it.
Yeah.
But a really important thing is understanding, and this is one of the mindset lessons in my program, is it's like you're taking baby steps. And what you have to understand is even if you're seeing someone that is super successful, the fact of the matter is they had to take every single step that you are currently taking. There
Yes.
is no shortcuts. And I never took out a business loan. So, okay, maybe business loan and like hiring a bunch of people, but like, I don't know any legal nurses that do that. Most of us are just like, you are figuring it out as you go, step by step yourself, right? So understand you have to like stop at each step, no matter how small it is. And you really do have to take note of like, I did that. And I think
Mhm.
that's a really important thing because if you are constantly just going, looking at the top of the staircase, going like, how do I get up there? Well, okay, understand the foundation you've built got you to this step. Take note of that
Yeah.
and then figure out what do I need to do to get to the next step. And you also need to understand that every single person you see that's successful had to do the same damn thing,
Mhm.
period.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, I feel like we're so, at least for me, I can be so bad at looking at how far I have to go instead of how far I've come,
Yes.
and it's like, I don't know why we as humans do that, but we have to, that's a really easy way of feeling like you're getting momentum going because you're like, okay, wait a second. I did come up with my business name, check. I
Yeah.
did do the LLC or whatever you got, business entity you choose, check. Like those are moments and you have to like acknowledge them instead of going, okay, but I want it to be a six-figure business. Well, okay, you can't get there from there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And if you constantly focus on there, you're never going to get there because you're not focused on here. You got to be more present than that and be proud of yourself of every step along the way?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, celebrate your wins, right? Celebrate yourself. And I think really importantly as nurse entrepreneurs and as like nurses kind of sailing the way and innovating and being rebels against the whole healthcare system or whatever nurses
Yeah.
are doing out there, you know, don't look at the staircase. Don't look at somebody that has 15 years and now they have a seven-figure business. Like that is
Right.
a long ass time that they've had to build that. Like it doesn't, right? It doesn't happen overnight. And so I think it's really important to focus on that internal validation. And I've been speaking a lot about this because as nurse entrepreneurs or business owners, CEOs, we don't have that charge nurse coming down the hallway and being like, you know what? You were great with that patient. I was just so amazed. Your blood draws on point. Those labs were great. Like, and sometimes that doesn't even happen anyway, but
Yeah.
like, let's just be truthful about that. But, you have to be that charge nurse that you wanted in the hospital to, cheer you on. You have to be that for yourself. Um, and I think that's
Yes.
really hard for nurses because in nursing school, that's where burnout starts. And we're so bombarded with professors that want you to do it a certain way and it's not done this way. And you get an F or you get a C. And it's this constant like bombardment of external validation that sometimes really isn't helpful. In nursing in general, I don't feel like it's a very cheery career field. There's a lot of nurses that are kind of against other nurses. And that's why I love the nurse entrepreneurship space because there's so much cool collaboration. And I got to meet people like you and so many other awesome nurses that are going to be at Modern Nurse Fest October 18th through 20th, sharing their stories of their modern nurse careers as well. So, what's one tip or trick that you can leave our listeners with or our viewers with that will help them kind of figure out what they want to do with their nursing career? Now, that's kind of a loaded question, but maybe kind of think back to when you were getting started with the legal nursing. What was something that kind of pushed you into just being like, yeah, I'm going to try it. Like, I'm going to do it and I'm not looking back. What are some like tips and tricks you can give to kind of help with moving forward in your nursing career?
Um, I mean, what pushed me forward was definitely understanding it really wasn't, I mean, the money's awesome, but it was understanding I could earn more working less. That is what like spoke to me. Well, I was like, when you're working Christmas and you're at the hospital and you think about these things and you go, wait a second, I can work from home. I can earn more per hour, which means I could work less hours and even if you just want to equal the same amount that you make as a nurse, you're working so much less hours you
Yeah.
to make that, you know what I mean? So that's really what spoke to me when you're saying like getting started. I would say the first thing is just acknowledging how unbelievably valuable your knowledge is and that you have options. And I feel like some of the nurses out there just are not even willing to acknowledge that. And that's the first step is just acknowledging you have so much value to bring to the table and it might not be in what you think it is. You know what I mean? That you can do so much more and to just kind of open your eyes and ears and like, the world will kind of tell you if you listen, like you will hear what you're meant to hear, whether it's a LinkedIn post or a TikTok post or one email, whatever. Like or you talk to someone like my random day. If she had never said that to me in the break room, who knows? I'd probably still be there,
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
just listen because sometimes messages will come to you and just be open. Don't be so down on yourself that like don't lock yourself into like I can only do this,
Yeah.
just start being a little bit more like I'm open to understanding there's more to nursing than maybe what I've ever known and kind of just start going down the rabbit hole,
Yeah. 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 I love that. Yeah. Just, researching, right? Researching and seeing what's out there.
Yeah,
And like we have that education to research. You know how to research, you're a nurse. Like you
yeah,
already have the education,
exactly.
you
And
know?
don't use it as another excuse as a comparison game and don't use it as an excuse to be overwhelmed. Like don't if you start catching yourself doing either one of those things, shut it off. Have it be in a place where you're in a good feeling place and you're just going, I have, like you said earlier, like, you know what I mean? I have opportunity everywhere because of my RN license, because of my knowledge. There are opportunities. It's like the mindset shift of because I think it also could be really overwhelming and put you in a negative place instead of like a positive, but like be in a positive place and understand you have options and even just feel good in knowing that,
Mhm.
that there's more
Yeah.
options than I ever could have ever known, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Over 400. I mean, well, that's what Chat GTP gave me anyway, but it's
Over
like,
400 nurse entrepreneurship.
yeah, or jobs in nursing, 400.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, see, that's what other profession can say that?
Crazy.
I'm sorry. It just,
Yeah.
we have so many options.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much again for being on the Modern Nurse podcast, and be sure to check out Abigail's course, Legal Nurse Secrets. If you're interested in getting started in legal nursing, it's really important to have a great foundation, and Abigail has that all in her course, from business marketing to learning how to set up a business and the education of a legal nurse. So go check her out. And where can we find you, Abigail?
So legalnursesecrets.com is my website, and you can follow me on TikTok, on Instagram. It's all Legal Nurse Secrets. So, and I'm also just Abigail Stanley if you want to check me out on LinkedIn as well.
Yay. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks, Abigail, for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge to all of our listeners today. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And remember, right behind Abigail, it says, let that shit go. And I want to just say,
Oh, I probably
say,
should have covered that up.
Lop it out. It's a bad word. No, it's so important, right? It's so important to just be in the present moment, like we were talking about. So take some time today, be in the present moment, and just let that shit go. So thanks again,
Yeah, let that shit
Abigail,
go.
for being on this show. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to collaborating with you in the future.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care.